detectives who say he is responsible for destroying more than a dozen flock license plate reader cameras in North Suffolk over a more than 6-month period last year. Installed in the last decade in the name of safety, officers say they noticed beginning last April.
That camera was turned facing towards the wood line, which is not facing towards the road, which is its intent.
But as time progressed, detectives say they found cameras removed entirely, some of them thrown off overpasses onto I-664. Detectives detailed how a traffic camera is what led them to Sovern, who is an engineer in the Air Force. At the end of last September, a warrant was signed issuing a GPS device to track the truck he was driving. And last October, another warrant allowed for a search of his Harborview condo, where detectives say flock camera components were found. When questioned, one detective says Sovern said the cameras are unconstitutional and a violation of his and others' Fourth Amendment rights.
Yeah, they are.
So far, no federal judge has agreed with a similar argument brought before them.
Cunts.
With one in Norfolk recently saying the license plate readers can't track the totality of a person's movements.
The fuck they can't.
It was revealed today Sovern is facing similar charges out of Chesapeake, where
fucking
he's going
legend.
court next week.
We're here at Goya University, where the average college student has now completely lost the ability to read and write thanks to ChatGPT. How does it feel to finally graduate? Well, AI already took my job. I'm $50,000 in student debt, and all my taxes are going to Israel. Yeah. How fun. What do you plan to do after you graduate?
I'm a psychology major, so naturally I'm going to go into Only Freaks.
Wow. Exciting choice.
If she's down, a homosexual now. Jennifer Skullface straight out of downtown. If she can handle my special needs, is she trying to get handicapped Angelina Solis? Kate, no matter the baker, I'm reaching for a 7 out of 46. Hola, como esta stadium syndrome. I didn't know they started making them like this. Once we all link, she might be down, but something is definitely a scarlet slow Hudson and half away. I bet she is down to fuck. At least the commentate disabled from the Hayek. I need someone special in my life. Me, I'm just one time. Selena Chrome, ask Jenny down the block. This is the rated R material I've been waiting for my whole life.
You don't have to go to hell. You're in hell. This is hell. This is hell. This is hell.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
Then strangled them, and finally dismembered their bodies.
Right.
Then do
And homelessness and all that.
And now, the voice you've been waiting for.
There is a secret song at the center of the world, and its sound is like razors through flesh. I'm here to turn up the volume.
Can you dig it?
You went full goitard. Never go full goitard.
Okay, so full disclosure. That goitard clip was AI generated.
Shit, here we go.
Oh, come on, you know I had to have some fun with that. I'm not sure why it is, because I've been checking off that AI box for months now. But for some reason, it seemed like everybody finally noticed it last week. But to set the record straight, I am not a robot and I don't have a robot vagina. But if I so much as include a clip that's made with AI or even an image, like just this one alone of the presidential library, if I didn't check that AI box saying that it contains somewhere within it AI content, it would be grounds for my video to get removed. And I'm trying, Ringo. I'm trying real hard to avoid suspension. Okay, so anyway, I was watching Good Morning America the other day, and I saw this segment that really was a grim reminder of how, for all the progress that's been made with the Great Awakening, we still have a long way to go.
Which is an ABC News investigation into Ivermectin. More and more, the drug once touted by some as the cure for COVID is being used by cancer patients. Despite no credible medical evidence, it is effective for it. It's even available without seeing a doctor in some areas, but taking it could come with some serious risks.
Yeah, the drug once touted as a cure for COVID. Oh, you mean by doctors that were actually treating patients? And to frame it like that, once touted, makes it seem like, oh, they thought it was a cure, but it turned out not to be. When in fact, it was the opposite. They tried to destroy every doctor and take their licenses away for simply trying to fucking prescribe it. Doctors that were excoriated and put down by the shit cunts that you people were interviewing on your very program. Oh, but now we're gonna poo-poo the prospect that it might actually be effective for some forms of cancer along with fenbendazole, which has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that it could threaten the cancer treatment market and the ungodly amounts of money they make each year, or the fact that the bulk of the promotional considerations for this show is paid for by those companies. So please, continue.
Senior national correspondent Steve Osensami has a closer look. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning to you, Michael. This is a bottle of ivermectin that we were able to buy without a prescription and without ever seeing a doctor.
Oh my God, what a fucking nightmare!
Yeah, without even seeing a doctor. The horror.
And it's a drug that won the Nobel Prize for Medicine and does wonders fighting parasites, but there are real risks when people use it to fight diseases. And this morning, there are many doctors across mainstream medicine who are particularly concerned about cancer patients using it to try and help themselves heal.
Ron Duguay spent 12 glorious seasons in the NHL.
Now we got a fight.
Where he was always a fighter.
Ron Duguay got a couple of solid right hands on Dave Poland.
And he will live forever in old videos like these online, seen here throwing punches on the ice.
In certain circumstances, I will fight until I drop.
But this morning, the former professional athlete is now fighting stage 4 colon cancer and believes he's beating it with the help of ivermectin.
The ivermectin, do you remember how much you were taking?
Yeah, it's 20 milligrams twice a day.
20 milligrams of ivermectin?
Yeah, that's because of the stage 4.
Okay.
That's high dose.
He was in Alaska visiting girlfriend Sarah Palin, the former Republican vice presidential nominee, when he first felt sick in 2024. Doctors told him it was cancer that had spread to his liver, and he started chemotherapy right away. He lost his hair and could barely walk.
Let's just make this stop. I'm going to have a sip of water.
But he says it was when his daughter introduced him to doctors in alternative medicine who put him on drugs that include a high dose of ivermectin that he says the tumors started to quickly disappear.
Do you feel that the ivermectin helped you?
Well, it had to, because you go from 90% to maybe 15% in my liver.
But what about the chemo?
Yeah, yes, it works, but the reaction from my doctor tells me he was not expecting this at all.
A new study from researchers in California finds that prescriptions for ivermectin are way up. Doctors tell ABC News that some patients are choosing it over chemotherapy and radiation and say there's no firm proof at this point that it can beat cancer.
As if they couldn't find examples of people who started taking ivermectin after their doctor said, oh, you're basically screwed. You're too far gone for even radiation or chemotherapy to help. And if they start taking ivermectin and fenbendazole and the tumor shrinks and then disappears, these mainstream doctors just treat that like a fluke, a miracle. But since normies might not be so dismissive of anecdotal tales like that, they throw this example up there so they could say, well, it was probably just the chemo that beat it, and he's trying to give the ivermectin credit for what the chemo did.
We found overall that the prescribing more than doubled. Among patients with cancer, it just about tripled.
What's also up are the number of calls into the nation's poison centers from people worried that they've poisoned themselves with the drug. Again, more than double in just the last year. And the researchers who are publishing in the Journal of the American Medical Association believe that much of this only happened after this celebrity interview about ivermectin with podcaster Joe Rogan and director Mel Gibson in January of last year.
I have 3 friends. All 3 of them had stage 4 cancer. All 3 of them don't have cancer right now at all.
It has not been proven in any kind of confirmatory clinical trial, which is the gold standard of evidence we need to know whether treatment works.
I suppose a good question to ask would be, how many clinical trials have been attempted? And they report on this massive increase in the numbers of people who believe they may have been poisoned with too much ivermectin. Okay, I'd like to see the numbers on how many people were actually seriously harmed or died from taking too much ivermectin. But no, they just want to frame it as, oh, taking this stuff could be risky, as opposed to chemo, where they load your body up with deadly fucking chemicals and hope that it kills the cancer cells before it kills you. I mean, that's basically what chemo is in a nutshell.
It's become big business, and a number of states, mostly in the South, have now passed laws allowing sales of ivermectin without seeing a doctor, and others are considering it. ABC News has partnered with reporters at KFF Health News who traveled through Tennessee and were able to buy bottles of it that were up to 10 times the strength of standard prescription tablets.
In very high doses, it can lead to seizure or coma. In extremely high doses, even death.
And of course he's not going to quantify what he means by extremely high doses. Could that be because it's way more than even the 10x strength that people are taking for cancer? And not to mention that even over-the-counter pain relievers can cause coma and death if you take an extremely high enough dose. I will give them credit though. This whole 5-minute segment framing ivermectin as potentially dangerous, again, is some pretty well put together, high-grade bullshit. And the fact that such a sizable portion of the population still takes the things these ass clowns say seriously is a bit frightening. Of course, at the other end of the spectrum, you've got the low-grade bullshit. I know there's always going to be some people out there dumb enough to believe anything, but you'd have to be a real knuckle-dragging mouth breather to take the shit people like this say seriously. There's a few of the people I follow on Twitter, not because I like or respect them, but because it's hilarious to me, the jackassy things they try to throw out there and get people to buy into. And this account's a good example. Sometimes he puts out things that are based on true stories, but he throws in some wild fucking bullshit claims. And other times it's shit like this. Imagine being so stupid that you actually see this and believe, oh my god, Justin Bieber got HIV from getting violated by Hunter Biden? And just buying into it without taking the 30 seconds that would be necessary to realize, yeah, that's bullshit. Because I mean, that is just... wow! And here's another fine purveyor of low-grade yet hilarious bullshit. He's also got these videos of him talking this hippie shit, stuff about different energy rising, and it sounds like something that should be coming from somebody named Moonbeam. I find that shit to be unbearable. But then there's a bunch of this trust the plan, things are happening shit, and he made a doozy of a claim of what's supposed to go down on July 4th. But you know, I'm going to come back to that, but I wanted to quickly mention this. Last week I had talked about the reemergence of Al Gore from whatever child torture chamber dungeon he's been hiding out in recent years.
Allegedly!
And for some reason I kept thinking about that this past week. At first I thought it was just because he's so fucking odious and insufferable. But I don't think that's it. I think it's that similarly to the masses going back to sleep coming out of this scamdemic, and people's willingness to go back to deferring to the people who've declared themselves the experts, they're about to make another big push, and why not? They spent all that time, effort, and money building up this horseshit threat. There's really no reason to believe that this wouldn't be a part of what Bear Independent refers to as the Everything, Everywhere, All at Once crisis. If you're unfamiliar with his work, I'd recommend at least checking him out. I find his intel briefs to be a very soothing way to start my day at work. But I think that's a great name for it, the Everything, Everywhere, All at Once crisis. The strategy of bombardment. You know, war, famine, disease, economic collapse, and of course some major natural disasters. A crisis in every which direction you look. So if this really is the year they're going to start going for broke, there's no reason to think they wouldn't crank up those weather weapons. You know, a bunch of shit that proves that the naysayers were wrong. And then on top of everything else, what we really need to do is crack down on CO2 emissions. And probably the masses will be all too willing to forget about predictions that came and went unfulfilled. You know, like this one from 2018. This one has since been deleted, I wonder why.
That's a mystery.
Or this one from John Kerry all the way back in 2009.
In 5 years, scientists predict we will have the first ice-free Arctic summer. That exposes more ocean to sunlight. Ocean is dark. It consumes more of the heat from the sunlight, which then accelerates the rate of the melting and warming rather than the ice sheet and the snow that used to reflect it back up into the atmosphere.
Yeah, spoiler alert, that didn't happen either. And even though it's been openly admitted now that things like cloud seeding and stratospheric aerosol injection are a real thing, but they play it off like it's something that they're thinking about trying to start doing. The fact that if they did, it would just so happen to look exactly like what's been happening, that's just a coincidence. But we might need to start doing something that would look exactly like that, you know, to try to block the sun and cool the planet. And it's long been my suspicion that if they can put particles up there to block the heat, they could also put other particles up there to intensify the heat like a magnifying glass. But I'm sure that's not what's been going on, right? They would never do that.
I got something to show you, Bert.
What is it? Is it titties?
Nope, a flashbang.
And now, the weekly flashbang.
Oh, I think I'm asking for it now. Who's they? Yesterday, I exposed a company that is spraying poison above your head. Stardust Solutions. Today, I did some digging on who's supplying these chemicals with this poison that they're injecting into the atmosphere. American Elements. Not sure how American it is, but check this humanly ethical company out. This company is one of many supplying companies like Stardust Solutions. Right there on their front page, they list top chemicals that they supply. And I knew there were more, so I went deeper. These are all other chemicals they supply. See something interesting here? They list all the same chemicals that we speak about all the time that are killing you, or at least making you sick all the time. They even have a case study of recycling rare earth metals. You mean stalling an inland hurricane over land to grab it? That's not recycling. Well, maybe to them it is, but... And then they also sponsor the annual Weather Modification Association meeting. So I dug some more. Looks like we have another one right around the corner in a beautiful vacation spot in Reno, Nevada. Just saying. We need to expose these companies, just like all the other corruption in the world.
You had that one in the chamber and ready to go, huh? But yeah, there's basically corruption and fuckery in every direction you could possibly look. But at this point, hasn't enough already been exposed? I would argue that the conditions today have already surpassed what led to the events of 250 years ago. Which they keep saying that this weekend will be the 250th anniversary of us being a country, but I would argue that we really didn't become a country until after the Constitutional Convention. This is the 250th anniversary of an act of sedition. That's what the Declaration of Independence really was. And really, it was no different than the South seceding from the Union. But if you declare independence and lose, you're a seditionist and a traitor. But if you win, you're a founding father. And what we really should be doing on this 250th anniversary is be issuing a re-declaration. Hasn't this shit gone far enough already? And whether you're talking about the thousands of inventions that there's national security secrecy orders because they've been deemed disruptive, translation, disruptive to the elite's accumulation of wealth and power, or the way we've been fucking poisoned from pillar to post, or the quickly maturing surveillance state. All the tenets that made this country such an amazing place have been incrementally and systematically devastated, especially over the past 100 years. But the divide and conquer strategy has been incredibly effective. Dividing people on every line possible: race, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, the ever-increasing amount of wedge issues to subdivide the groups, like amongst the conspiracy-minded truther community, for example. There's all these newfound divisions about the shape of the earth or Tartaria, whether or not birds are real. If we wind up getting enslaved in a technocratic neo-feudal system, then what difference is any of that shit gonna make? And I had a little exchange last week with Count Drancula. Fucking brilliant username, by the way. But the gist of it was discussing the viability of a movement that doesn't have a leader. Because on one hand, without a leader, you're disorganized and prone to having it devolve into total chaos. And I get that, but on the other hand, and I hate to give Antifa credit for anything, but one of the reasons why they've been such a pain in the ass is specifically because they don't have any formal leadership structure. Just a general set of principles that, while retarded, are broad and basic enough for people to come together behind. If you're stupid enough to buy into that ideology anyway. But why couldn't it simply be the same thing for the resistance to the technocratic takeover? Maybe just, I don't know, how about a restoration of the constitutional rights that things like the Patriot Act and NDAA have effectively nullified? I've been thinking about this book that I read about 10 years ago or so, called American Insurgents, American Patriot. It's a really good book, because while everybody knows about the Boston Massacre and the Tea Party and these well-known events, this book focuses more on what the grassroots were doing in little towns all across the colonies. It lays out a pretty good picture of the internal divisions between those who were loyalists and those who wanted independence, and that part is certainly applicable to the situation today. And lastly, I'm on vacation this week, and that's why I had to upload this a bit earlier than usual. And there won't be an episode next week, but I'll be back the following week, and I'm hoping I can spend this week on the internet as little as possible. And as for what may or may not happen on the 4th, we shall see. But as I mentioned before, what that knucklehead was claiming was basically that this deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which seems to be falling apart in real time,
no shit,
is really all about the unveiling of a new financial system, a gold-backed quantum financial system. And that on July 4th, it's going to go public. And we're going to be saved by this new dollar system backed by gold that we don't have. Yeah, sure, buddy. And whatever any of you may have planned for the 4th, you might consider this. Perhaps a more appropriate way to honor our forefathers in this country's traditions would be, instead of just lighting off fireworks and celebrating and pretending everything is fine, perhaps some act of defiance would be more appropriate. Whatever form that may take. But just whatever you do, don't take a battery-powered Sawzall or bolt cutters or paint and go after these flock cameras. And definitely don't shine a high-powered green laser into one for more than a few seconds. That would be very bad, okay? Very, very, very bad. Take care, everybody. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Sláinte.
In this world is my thoughts and my words, and I don't break them for no one. You understand? So say good night to the bad guy. So say good night to the bad guy. So say good night to the bad guy. Say good night to the bad guy. Come on. Come on. night to the bad guy. Look at you now.